Hi, this is Susan Proper with Women Inspired to Wellness. Thanks for joining me today. I have a very nice guest with me today coming from Houston, Texas. She is a nutritional coach, but who specializes in autoimmune disease, which is really somewhat of a mystery to me, I have to admit, and I think it is to a lot of people. And I think you will be inspired by her story and also learn a lot of very interesting and new information that you may not be familiar with. So I would like to introduce to you Divya Dhawan from Houston, Texas. Hi, Divya.
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm
I'm
glad
glad
to
you
be
could
on
be
the
here.
show. Glad
So,
to be on the
Divya, I know that you are certified in integrative nutritional coaching, health coaching. But can you just share to the listeners or with the listeners today, um, what brought you to become a health coach? Because I know you sort of became a health coach because of your own life story. So, what was your experience that brought you to that?
Yeah, sure. So I suffered myself with Sjogren syndrome a couple of years ago, and of course I was put on medications, and those medications were going to be lifelong for me. And like all other autoimmune people and Sjogren's people who are suffering, and it's a lifelong thing, so you're like bound to all those medicines for your entire life. And the thing is, it is, while it does help manage the symptoms, those medications don't really address the root cause of the problem. And what I did was, in my own healing journey, I tried to address the root cause of the issue, and because of which I was able to heal myself. So,
Okay,
for all the listeners who don't know about Sjogren's,
that's what I was going to say. I think there's a lot of people who never heard of Sjogren syndrome. Can you start right there?
yes, of course, that's where I was going. So, Sjogren's syndrome is an autoimmune disorder, and most people suffering with Sjogren's syndrome have dry eyes, dry mouth, dry skin. Basically, all the wet glands of the body go dry, and that includes vagina for the women.
Mm.
And a lot of gastric issues, skin issues. Some people have overlapping autoimmune conditions with that, and so that is what is Sjogren syndrome. I mean, it's a life with dry eyes, dry mouth, to the point that even dental decay can start, and it can be really overwhelming living with that condition for a long time.
Wow. Now, I have dry skin and I have dry eyes sometimes. So, is this a syndrome that is often sort of overlooked by the medical field or gets misdiagnosed, or is it common? Uh, I have like questions about that.
Yeah, sure. So the thing with the Sjogren syndrome is it does take a lot of time to get diagnosed by the doctors, because a little bit of dry eyes and dry skin anyone can have, but when
Mhm.
it gets to the point when it is not bearable, and then it is also accompanied with joint pains, pain in the bones, pain in the muscles,
Mm.
and other issues happening with it, that's when people are really alarmed and they go to the doctor saying that I need a diagnosis for this issue. And most Sjogren's people spend close to 6 or 7 years before they get diagnosed. It
Oh
might
my
be more.
gosh. Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
that's a long time to live with. Well, first of all, just the uncomfortableness of dry mouth and dry eyes and that. But if you've got muscle pain and joint pain for 6 or 7 years, that's a long time to live like that.
Yeah, and it does become debilitating, because when you're not able to function and you're not able to take care of the daily chores, not able to take care of your kids, and all you want to do is just lie in the bed, that's not a life, that anyone likes to live. And
Wow.
it does get debilitating at times.
So how long did it take for you to get diagnosed?
Well, luckily for me, it took a couple of doctors and probably 3 or 4 months.
Oh,
And that happened for the reason because for me, dry eyes happened, dry mouth happened, but at the same time, the most bad symptom that I had was actually joint pains and aches and muscle aches that were to the point that I just could not function. Like not even without the help of my family, I couldn't function for a single minute,
wow.
and it became really debilitating at the time.
Oh my goodness.
And I had to
So,
run around for I'm sorry,
no,
but I
that's
had to
okay.
yeah, but I had to. It was only when I found a rheumatologist who could really understand what is going on with me that I was. He was able to diagnose me.
Okay. Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
I guess what I was going to ask you is what type of a doctor was finally able to diagnose you, a rheumatologist? Okay.
rheumatologist. Yes,
Hmm.
they are the specialists who deal with all kind of autoimmune and rheumatic
Okay.
disorders.
Okay. So, all right. So you get diagnosed, and then what happens? What are the next steps typically for a person who is seeing a rheumatologist?
Typically, the steps are they are put on steroids
Mm-hmm.
and also on the very basic drug Plaquenil. Sometimes it can be harsher drugs, but that is how the protocol goes. The steroid and the hydroxychloroquine, along with some other drugs, which actually suppress the immune system
Never a
because
good
immune
thing.
system is overactive when all this
Mm,
is happening because it's really the body attacking the glands and the various parts of the body.
right. Okay. So, what was your treatment? What was your path at that point when you finally got diagnosed?
So when I got diagnosed, I was put on steroids, and I was also put on hydroxychloroquine. uh, I wanted to go the milder path, so I did not want harsh medications, and my doctor knew that.
Mm-hmm.
And that continued until a couple of months, and I did take the medication. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But then something made you decide not to do that anymore, or what happened?
no, it was not that something told me to not do that anymore. Really, it was something in my head, and I know I tell that to everyone, but there was some voice in my head, and you can call it intuition, you can call it you know whatever. But I had this voice in my head that was telling me that this is not how I need to stay, and I should stay forever, and I have to do something about it myself. And by virtue of that voice, I kept following that voice, and I did all the things that I needed to do. I did a lot of research, a lot of trials, and errors on myself, and I was able to figure out my path on which I could heal myself. And then
Mm-hmm.
eventually, with the help of my doctor, I was able to get off the medication. But that's something really personal, and that should always be done only with the help of the doctor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, so now, okay. Um, so when you say heal yourself, you don't really mean a cure, though, right?
Not cure, but I know how to manage my symptoms now.
Okay.
I know my triggers. I know what causes it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to manage my symptoms much better. And I don't have any pains and aches that I used to have, which were debilitating. And I don't have dry eyes and mouth anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to manage my situation better with lifestyle.
Okay.
Is what I did.
And
Yeah.
so, so you basically have changed your life from a one of chronic pain and all the symptoms of the syndrome, and then treating it with drugs to treating it more holistically and naturally.
That's true. Yes.
Okay, well, that's a wonderful thing. Yeah, that's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah. So now now you are a coach who coaches other people to do the same thing?
I do, yes. So, inspired by my own health journey and the fact that I was able to heal myself, and the fact that there are alternative therapies which can work in conjunction with the medication, and actually help us heal from the inside out. I have, now become an integrative nutrition health coach.
Okay. I actually have another question before we talk about
Sure.
that real quick. Is this a syndrome, excuse me, that affects women more than men, or is it sort of equal?
Yeah, that's a really good question. This is a syndrome which affects women more than men for some reason,
Hmm.
which is unclear, but more women are affected than the men.
Okay. Okay. So when you coach, you are coaching predominantly women then?
Well, I'm open to coaching anyone who has Sjogren's,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
men do
No, I'm
have
just
Sjogren's,
saying,
but yeah.
as it turns out, because more women get the syndrome, it would
Yes,
be
yes.
that you would coach women more than men typically. Okay. So tell me then, Divya, when you're coaching, how do you work with your clients? What does your program look like? What's it all about?
So my program has all the elements of what I did to heal myself. From food to managing my stress to managing my emotions to and it's 11. It's actually 12 to 13 week long,
Mhm.
which in which I teach everything that I learned in my own health journey. And
Mhm.
it's really the crux of it is that we work to heal the body inside out.
And
So healing the guts, basically, because autoimmune happens because of the leaky gut syndrome,
oh,
which is when the intestinal lining gets damaged. And so healing it is really, really important.
wow. So leaky gut, I've heard that before, leaky gut. And is that a syndrome in and of itself, or is that part of Sjogren syndrome?
No,
Is
it's
that
not a part of Sjogren syndrome as such, but it is just a condition which causes a wide array of diseases, which includes all kinds of autoimmune.
okay?
And it can cause depression as well. Some researchers
Oh,
have shown that it causes depression too, anxiety, even cancer.
right. Yeah, I've heard of it causing cancer, but never depression. That's interesting. I'll have to read about that.
Yeah, because when the gut and blood barrier is broken, and when the toxins enter the body through the guts into the blood, they can actually also break the brain and blood barrier. And when that happens, depression can happen too.
Wow. Oh, I definitely have to read up more on that. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Um, okay, so let's get back to your coaching package. Um, so, okay, you work for 13 weeks with your clients, basically teaching them what you taught yourself. So, obviously, stress is a huge thing, stress relief, changing your diet, like you said. And I forgot what the third thing was that you talked about.
Managing your
I
own
know you said
emotions,
leaky
right?
gut, but
Because
I'm sorry?
it was managing your emotions,
Emotions.
uh,
Oh, God, yeah. Oh,
because
um,
they can be a cause of stress, and a
yes.
big one.
Yes, they can be. So, what are some of the ways that you teach people how to relieve stress issues, or what kind of dietary changes are you talking about when you work with your clients?
Sure. So it is all about eating healthy
Hmm.
and eating stuff that does not cause the inflammation, but helps reduce the inflammation in the body. And as far as the stress is concerned, the best ways to take care of stress are mindfulness. So meditation is
Yes,
the best way to take care of stress.
yes. So,
And
oh, sorry. When you um, when you talk about anti-inflammation diet, are you uh, so what would you typically in a typical day, talk to people about how to change their diet, change their way of eating?
eat more organic, include a lot of healthy fats in the diet, and ditch the unhealthy fats because they are not good for the body.
Mm-hmm.
And eating organic itself is a very, very powerful tool because unfortunately our food is sprayed with a lot of pesticides and herbicides and all those kind of sprays that the agriculture uses,
Yes.
which are harmful and really, really harmful for the body because those are the toxins that enter the gut lining, go into blood, and activate the immune system.
Right. Now, what about I'm vegetarian, so I'm just
Okay.
curious. What about like meats and fish and different things like that? What do you get into anything like that with your clients?
No, I only teach the ways to improve the eating, to find ways to eat healthy. And
Hmm.
it's because everyone is, it's very personal how you eat.
Yes.
And everyone is very, very different, and how the body reacts is very different.
Yes.
So, what I teach is a healthy way of life, really,
Okay.
through food.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm a yoga teacher too, and a lot of yoga teachers that I know are into the Ayurvedic way of eating and cooking
Healing.
and all of that. And I know about it, and I have tried a few methods of Ayurvedic cooking and eating, but I have to admit it's not one of my favorites. But yeah, every now and then I delve into it. So yeah, but I have some friends that it's just their lifestyle, and it is a lifestyle. It truly is a lifestyle. So
Yes,
yeah,
Ayurveda is really a lifestyle. And
yeah,
what they have, I mean, if you dive deeper into Ayurveda, they have whole guidelines for how to lead your life, how to lead your day.
yes,
And I know friends who have done it. I haven't done it, but those who have done it see immense benefits of that.
yes,
And
yeah,
it's a beautiful science from India,
yes.
which really heals the body from inside out. And it is about, I don't know, 5,000 or more years old.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
when you said about yoga, I wanted to add that yoga has been a very, very integral part of my healing journey. And I
Oh,
absolutely love yoga.
that's
Mhm.
great. Well, I'm glad to
Yeah.
hear that. Yeah, yoga has been a very integral part of my healing as well. So, yeah, we have that in common, and meditation too. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and I just by the virtue of doing yoga for such a long time, I have come to believe now that yoga is more than an exercise. It's kind of like a science to bring the body and mind together and
absolutely.
integrate them so that they can work together,
Mm-hmm.
in keeping the body healthy,
Yes.
which is always out of sync in this modern world. I mean, we have so many stresses going around,
Yeah,
um, traffic, going to work, coming back from work, taking care of the chores, taking care of the kids, you
that's
just name
right.
it. So yoga is very beneficial in that way.
It absolutely is. I think when you just think about pranayama, the yogic breath, that alone can help you get through the day. And it's such a stress reliever too.
It
Um,
is.
I forget who I had this conversation with the other day. I had a conversation with another friend on her podcast about how pranayama, if you sit on your mat and just close your eyes and sit on your mat and breathe, really fill your lungs, big breath and exhale, and just do that. We breathe so shallowly all day
Hmm.
long. We
Yeah,
never fill our lungs, and we never get that oxygen into our bloodstreams. And it's so beneficial to get that oxygen flowing into our body. And anyway, yeah,
yeah,
don't get me
yeah. I
started on
totally
that.
agree
But
to that.
yeah, it's
Yeah, I
it's
totally agree to that. In fact, we all breathe so shallow, and breath is really the life force energy according to Ayurveda and yoga.
mhm.
And when we tap into that life force energy and we have more of it, then obviously our body is healing more and connected more, and
Yes,
it's relaxed more. We're able to manage everything better.
yes,
And it's amazing to even think that, in India 5,000 years ago, those people knew so much about
that's right.
how to be healthy.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. It really is amazing. So, so now how do you like wrap everything all together then for a client? So you work with them for the 13 weeks, and then like
So I'm sorry.
no,
I'll
go ahead. Go
take
ahead. I think you know what
that.
I'm coming to ask you. So go
Yes.
ahead. Go ahead.
So so it's a very one-on-one approach,
Mhm.
and I work very closely with the clients and support them and help them through this journey of healing themselves.
Yes.
And it's so it's a one-on-one approach, and I do everything virtually, so it can be done, from any part of the world,
Okay.
and we can work on the timing. And
Okay.
so
And people can reach out to you on your Instagram, which is Sjogrens Health Coach Divya, or Facebook, which is divya.dhn. And your website is sjogrenssolutions.com. Correct? I got all those
yes,
right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's right.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
So I'm sorry, I was just going to add that the best way is to I offer complimentary calls
Yes.
to get to know better the situation that the people are in terms of health, and so they can actually book a call on my website, and that is the best way to actually talk to me.
Okay. And I will put that link in the episode notes when the podcast goes live, so everybody
Yeah,
can
sure. Thank you.
access that as well. Or you can, if you're listening right now, you can just go to Divya's website, which is sjogrenssolutions.com. And Sjogrens is spelled kind of weird. I'm going to spell it so you know. It's Sjogrens, Sjogrens. Sjogren's syndrome is the name of the disease that we're talking about right now, which is an autoimmune disorder, which I had never heard of before. Thank God.
Yeah. Many people haven't heard of it, and I
Yeah.
always get this question: how do you pronounce it? What happens? What kind of disorder is it? We don't know about it. We haven't heard about it. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Well, I was one of those people. I had never heard about it before, and I didn't know anybody who had it, and I didn't know what the symptoms were. And, and again, I can understand why it could be so easily either misdiagnosed or go undiagnosed for so long, because I don't think it's very common.
Mhm.
How many people have this disorder or disease? Do you know what the numbers are in the country?
I would know the numbers really,
No.
but there are people who are affected. There are a lot of people who are affected by it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
And
So right
and plus
now,
the thing is with
you're
autoimmune.
considered in like a remission stage. Is that what you're considered? Because you have your symptoms under control. Is that what it's called when you are able to manage your symptoms?
I guess we can say that, but I normally don't use that term.
Yeah, I guess we use that
And
term
I
pretty
just
much for cancer patients, but I guess, if you still have the disease or the disorder, but it's just not showing, I don't know what you would call it, if you would call it
yeah.
remission.
So whenever my labs are done, so I do get my labs done every year, and all the physicals done. I do have that antibody still in my body, but it's not able to um, create all those symptoms which debilitate me, which
Right.
all those typical symptoms, and in fact, any symptoms.
That's wonderful.
So I don't know if remission is the right word. I would say I'm able to manage my health condition much better, and because of the knowledge that I've gained through this journey.
Okay. So is there
And
anything that
also,
you, that, first of all, I didn't ask you, or that I'm forgetting to ask you, or is there anything that we should let the listeners know that we haven't talked about?
yeah, so I offer a complimentary gift
Yes.
at my website, which anyone can go and get at sjogrenssolution.com. So the gift is Healing Sjogrens or Autoimmune Quick Start Guide. So it's like a quick start guide on how to set yourself up for healing. And that is available at my website, sjogrenssolution.com.
Okay,
for the
that's
listener.
great. Good. Okay. Well, I think this was a really informative conversation. I personally, I learned about the leaky gut link to depression, which is interesting. I'm going to have to read up on that, but I think it was just good to learn more about this syndrome myself because, I really didn't know too much about it until that you and I met and spoke before. And I think it's always good to learn about these things, to educate yourself and to be aware so that when you meet people, you never know. You talk to a lot of people in life, and sometimes people will tell you their story, and their story could include symptoms when they're talking. They could be talking about symptoms that sound like Sjogren's, and you could say, "Oh, do you have Sjogren's?" And they may not even know it,
Right.
So it's
Yes.
always good to be informed and educated and be aware. And I think this kind of conversation helps you do that. So I'm so glad that you were able to talk about it today.
Yeah, I'm so glad too, because not many people even know that there's something like Sjogren syndrome that exists.
Yeah.
And so you're doing a really great job by, creating that awareness about all the different diseases. And in my case, for Sjogren's, that we have both been able to create today. And all your listeners will now know what is Sjogren's.
That's right. I think so. Yeah. I think people are going to be surprised when they hear about this syndrome because I don't think a lot of listeners know about it. So, yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now they do.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Divya. This was really a great conversation, and I'm sure that everybody's going to be very interested in hearing about it and learn a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And it was a pleasure to talk about Sjogrens. And it's always nice to, um, you know, come on shows like this, create awareness about Sjogrens, and let people know that there is help and there is hope.
Yes.
Because if I could have done it, I'm sure everyone can do it. And I'm there for them to help them out in this journey.
Yes, that's wonderful. Well, thank you. And don't forget to get in touch with Divya. Instagram is Sjogren Health Coach Divya. Facebook is divya.dhn, and her website is sjogrenssolutions.com. All right. Thanks, Divya.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Sure.